Welcome everyone to the Power Core Podcast, where we discuss, review, and fanboy over anything and everything Marvel Strike Force. Now, get ready for two of the most mediocre gamers in the cosmos. It's your hosts, Hebrew Hammer and the Irishman.
What is up, my Power Core peeps? It's your host, as always, Hebrew Hammer. Unfortunately, the Irishman is not with us this week, but the show must go on. So here we are. I'm coming to you from Mexico City, so I don't have my usual setup with me today. I am on vacation, but I'll be getting it back, not next week, but the week after. So no worries there. We have had quite a week for Marvel Strike Force. It has been nuts. We've gotten into some scandals, some crazy updates, some changes, some balances, all kinds of stuff. We're going to be breaking it all down, of course. So let me go ahead and tell you guys what's on the docket for today. We got the news, and in the news we're going to be going over the Payday event that's coming back, the Rocket and Star-Lord event, those are ending, the Vision, Galactic Hero, and Shockcaller orbs. Then we're going to go over to the main topics. We're going to be covering the speed nerf and the balance change, upcoming Wasp and Ant-Man events, the Blitz changes, of course, Doctor Strange orbs, Loki Blitz, return of the Deadpool raid. Then we're going to get to the Fox Next scandal and raid leaderboard update. Notice I did say Fox Next and not Foxnet. That will be funny later on, if you're not already laughing. And then, of course, we're going to go into the character deep dive. This week we have Star-Lord. Super excited about this one, guys. I know Irishman is probably jumping up for joy right now. So, and then we're going to go into the question of the day, which is actually brought to you from one of the people on our Discord. Love getting questions from these guys. Just a great community in general. If you want to join, I'm going to go ahead and name drop it real quick. If you want to join, it's www.discord.me/PowerCore Podcast. That's it. Bring you right in. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. So, first of all, Payday event. It's coming back. I'm super excited about this one. I do have my mercs up another star level, so I'm going to be hitting 4 this time. Really more excited about the gold pull than anything else. Still have not got a million pull yet. I'm waiting on that one. I'm hoping this will be the one to do it. So we'll see. But anyways, it's coming in 5 days, a little over 5 days now. So everyone get ready. Try to star up your guys as quick as possible. But as we've seen, it's coming around fairly regularly. So you don't have to be too worried if you miss it. And there's still something if you haven't gotten your guys up another starts here, no big deal. You're still going to get some gold. And then we're looking at the Rocket and Star-Lord event ending. This is good. I have mixed feelings about these events. Going in, I was a little more optimistic. Going out, it's not that I'm not optimistic about it, but I'm certainly just kind of tired of it. I'm so done with all of these events right now. You need to give me a break. Especially with the events where I'm putting in some power cores. I get it, putting in 150 power cores isn't terrible. It didn't end up affecting me too much. I basically just went through the Ant-Man event, then the Rocket event, and then the Wasp event, and I just basically rotated my 150 until I got the 3 stars of each one. So it wasn't the worst, but certainly it gets very tedious very quick. So I'm sure that you guys are ready for that one to end as well. And next we're going to be going into the new orbs, because we have a lot of new orbs in there. We have the Synthezoid orbs for Vision. We have the Galactic Hero orbs. Those are good. It's actually kind of a nice orb this time because you get a little variety. I know that, that might be good or bad depending on what you want, but for a lot of people, I'm sure it's good. And it's never bad, in my opinion, because, if you want to get that 7-star Star-Lord eventually, you're going to have to get these people up anyway. So it gives me a little variety. I like that. But also, these are cheaper orbs. They're $375, so that's much better. Then we have the Shock Collar Orbs for the Merc Lieutenant. Great character, about to be nerfed a bit. So, I wouldn't invest too much in him. How should I say? Okay, he's there for Blitz this week. So, we're going to be getting some extra shards of him, but I don't know. Whenever it comes to his orb for 675 cores, with the incoming nerf, not worth it for me to invest in the orbs. Still going to get top 10%, but I'm not going to get the orbs. Anyways, we're moving on to the main topic. We're looking at the speed nerf now and some balance changes. Now, these are important. These are basically going to help dictate a new meta, I think. Well, not an entirely new meta, but some of the strongest characters are based around speed ups and slowdowns right now. Mostly Quake and Black Widow and even Merc Lieutenant. So the fact that these guys are getting changes, good stuff, in my opinion. I don't like a meta to be stagnant for too long, and also, it was a little overpowered. 50% is kind of crazy. So speaking of that, yeah, they're nerfing from 50% on speed up or slow down to 30% speed up or slow down, depending on your character's ability. So I like that. I'm glad that they're making those changes overall. There's a lot of people that are upset about it, and I get it because, they invested a lot of time and resources into these characters. But, this is how these kind of games go. Things are going to change, hopefully for the better, but sometimes for the worse. In this case, I believe it is for the better because, what we have right now is this really solid meta of people, and I'm getting pretty tired of seeing them in every single Blitz group I fight against. Ugh, it's getting very tiring. And I'm glad that this is going to be kind of switching it up a little bit more, at least helping get some of those characters out of every single team, There's still going to be good characters too. It's just that they're not going to be totally dominating everything. So, and that's important. Black Widow was the worst culprit of this. So, her kid is just so crazy that 50% speed up for your entire team. No, thank you. Well, thank you if you're on my team, but no thank you if I'm playing against you. So yeah, and then on top of that, we're looking at balance changes. They did start to add in updates on the MSF website, the official MSF website, not to be confused with msf.gg, although I'm sure it's on there too. But they did mention that they are going to be addressing balance issues with Yondu and Crossbones specifically, as well as they didn't name names of others, but just kind of speaking in generalities that they're going to be focusing a lot of attention on balancing out characters in the future, which I'm all for. They need to be balanced, Ronan. So I'm glad that they're doing this. I want them to continue to do this. And people are freaking out over the Yondu and Crossbones changes. I like it. I have a almost fully maxed out Yondu and Crossbones right now. I am okay with them changing it because, once again, I'm getting tired of seeing these people every single game. And I know that they're overpowered. How can they not be? They have entire teams, sure-to-win teams based off of just these two characters. And they're good at everything. That's the problem. Well, I shouldn't say Crossbones is good at everything. Yondu's good at everything. Crossbones is just a nuke. He's a ticking time bomb. So yeah, I welcome these changes. I'm glad that they're happening. And I want more of them. So I'm looking forward to it. And also, like I mentioned before, I just want to kind of echo the fact that there's going to be more of these in the future. Not only did they just say that, but it's also just an inevitability in games like these. If you don't balance out your characters, you're going to have a ridiculously stale meta, and it just gets boring. And also, it's bad for new characters coming in. It makes it hard for them to break in, because all you want to do is just max out those characters that are safe. So, anyways, moving on. We are going to be taking a quick look at the upcoming Wasp and Ant-Man event. And we got Wasp orbs apparently coming up. So in one of the most recent, there was basically two data mines. One was kind of a mini data mine. One of them found that we were going to be looking at some Wasp orbs coming up. Most likely similar kind of thing from what we saw with Ant-Man. There's going to be a blitz about her whenever her stuff ends, which it's supposed to end, I think, in like 8 days. Wow, I nailed that. 8 days and 1 hour. God, I'm good. So, yeah, it's going to be ending in about 8 days. And chances are then we're probably going to be looking at a blitz with her and some orbs very similar to Ant-Man. One thing I will say about this, I like it and I don't like it. You know, everyone was upset about the amount of shards that we were going to be getting from Ant-Man, especially whenever you don't put in 150 cores a day. I get it, but now that we're looking at it, I feel more and more comfortable with the overall situation of it. Honestly, that is probably an unpopular opinion, but if you look at the fact that you do have the ability to add in 150 cores at basically no cost per day. You know, how you distribute them is up to you, of course, but at least you can definitely do it for a majority of the event. With how it was spaced out, you could do it for a majority of the event and not take too much of a hit in your campaign or anything, because we are compensated with gold and campaign items from these events. So it's not terrible. But on top of that, we're also getting blitzes for each one of them, which we didn't know at the time. So that helps kind of distribute it out. You know, I know with the blitz changes, people are a little upset. We're going to get to that soon because that does affect it somewhat. But either way, you know, it is an extra chance for more shards. I think 3-starring these characters isn't terribly difficult. I mean, with everything combined given to these characters. So I think that's pretty generous considering that this event we're getting 3 characters, or at least the potential for 3 characters. The potential for 3 characters in the way of there might be a third. We're pretty sure there's a third at this point. And potentially getting in there because you do need a 3-star Wasp and Ant-Man to do so, to get to that combined event that will most likely lead to that third unlocked character. One thing that does concern me is that, as we know, the Wasp event is very difficult, starting at 1/6 on hard mode, of course. Really, really tough. Took me a while to get past it. Doctor Strange is a big help on this one. If not, Black Widow and Quake. That's how I beat it, but it was difficult, to say the very least, and it took a lot of RNG. But anyways, I'm afraid of what this new event is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be more difficult. Something tells me it is. There was a few that were on, because just from what we've seen in the past few weeks, you know, Ant-Man was no big problem. Rocket, there was a few nodes that gave people some trouble, including myself, but relatively easy to get past after a couple of tries. And then we were hit with Wasp, and it's like hitting a brick wall at some points. And so it makes me, considering that trend, it makes me really scared for what's going to happen on this combined event. Not to mention, I'm sure you're going to need these 2 characters leveled up a good bit. So that's a whole bunch of resources you're dumping into these characters. Not that they're bad characters. I think that they're very good characters. Certainly in the demigod category combined, for sure. So I'm not saying that it's, you know, a worthless investment. I think it's a good investment. But having to do it so quickly, while there's other characters like Star-Lord and Rocket and Groot that we have to worry about, makes it just difficult to do so. You have to really try to prioritize it. And considering we don't know the parameters of these new events, it's hard to make these decisions to dump all your resources into one character over another. Anyways, regardless, I'm hoping that the event's going to be cool. I know the event's going to be cool. All of these events have been really cool. The dialogue in these things are amazing. The animations for these characters are exceptional. A little lackluster, even Irish pointed out with Rocket, little lackluster on some of his abilities, on the aesthetics of it. And I could agree with that, but that's because I think he was developed a long time ago in terms of whenever the game was released. And these characters are a little newer. They can spend more time on them. You know, they're not as tight on resources anymore. Monetary resources, I mean, as we know. But yeah, so, you know, these characters are great. I've always loved all of these events that they've done. I think my favorite one so far has been Deadpool, just because it was so much fun. Star-Lord event was amazing. Same thing with him, a little lackluster on the animations, but for the same reasons as Rocket, it's okay. But yeah, and I feel like a lot of times these aspects of the game get overshadowed from all of the controversy and the logistics of getting these characters started up and if we're going to be able to do it. There's a lot of different people that create different things within a game, or at least usually. I know the Fox Next team is Fox Next, by the way. team is very small. I believe it's only like 5 or 6 people, if I remember correctly from what Casino said whenever he visited them. But there's usually some people that take care of the animations, the storyline, and then there's other people that take care of, how the game's going to be played out, the logistics of everything. So it just kind of sucks whenever someone's hard work is overshadowed by getting people start up, And I get it. It's a super important part of the game, arguably the most important part of the game. But those people tried really hard and they did a really good job. So shout out to those guys. Anyways, all right, so let's go ahead and move on. We got the blitz changes now. This was a tough pill to swallow. I think we were all getting prepped for it with the 2 hour. Well, occasionally we started having these lower blitz refresh timers in like not even every other, like every 3 or 4 blitzes. And it was, I think, 3 hours, every 3 hours, because it was cut in half. And then it went to 2 hours, and we were like, we hope this thing is temporary. But it is not. It's now every 2 hours. It is overall kind of a pain. I wasn't as opposed to it whenever I first dealt with it, because I like Blitz for experimenting with different team comps. And I think Blitz is a very valuable part of the game. And I like being able to trade hard work in for getting above a lot of other people who might rely on power given by money, which I have no hate on at all. If you want to throw money down on this game, great. I support you. That this is a game that I love. We'll get into more of this later on, but it's a game that I love, and regardless of what's going on, they do need money. So I think that these blitz changes can be good, but it's just you really have to get grindy with it. Like you got to set alarms. You can still sleep. I mean, you can miss some. It's not terrible if you miss some, but you definitely need to be on your game a little more than you used to if you want to get into even the top 10% for some characters. But I feel like if you really, really try, you can get higher than that now more easily. So like into the top 1,500. So there's good and bads, but I think overall it's mostly bad because people don't want to dedicate every 2 hours to going in there and spending basically 20 minutes or so going through their rosters and trying to blitz everyone out. It gets just tedious. And that's something you have to be careful with in these games. I've played, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes for a good amount of time, and it's, I guess, for about 2 years now. And, that kind of stuff gets tedious quick. And I think the route that they're going isn't helping it. So I hope that they change those. Maybe every 4 hours would be okay with me. I would actually like that. It's kind of a happy medium, I feel like. So, and onto the other aspects of it. They combined the global launch and the beta shards, finally. This was, I feel like, an inevitability, and I'm okay that they did it. I'm not okay with the reward tier rework. I thought they were going to go to more of a percentage based with every single reward besides maybe rank 1, but they didn't, and that kind of sucks. It's like they increased it. It's no longer top 500, it's 1,500. But whenever you're looking at adding in so many more people that are typically above everyone else, that 1,500 does not look good. It's arguably worse. Now, I know that the points to get into the top 500 were around the same as what they were for launch as they were for beta. So I get why they did it, but it's still just more people's more people. And yeah, you increased it by a little bit, but not nearly enough. So the threshold for these rewards are a little bit of a joke. I wish that they would just go to an all percentage-based reward system. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it gets a little better. I know right now Blitz isn't looking so great, but it's hard to balance these kinds of things, and I'm optimistic for the future of it. Hopefully they've taken into consideration everything that we've said and everything that we like, and they just stop. Or at least bring it back to a place that we like. That being said, another thing that kind of sucks about the reward tiers is that they reduce the amount of character shards that we get per tier. That kind of sucks, but it's offset by the fact that they increased the milestone character shard rewards. But those, you used to be able to get into the top 10% super easy. But now you have to get 750,000 to get that last milestone tier. So, which is milestone 14, by the way. So there's 14 milestones that you have to make it through, the last one being 750,000. That's a bit of a grind fest. And, you know, that's helped by the fact that you can use these blitz refreshes in your favor. But once again, people just don't want to do blitz that much. It was already kind of a problem before, and now it's really a problem where people are just, they don't want to do it. Overall, not a fan of the blitz changes. Without going any more into that, because it's just going to be more of the same of me complaining, probably. Let's go ahead and get into the next part, which is the Doctor Strange orbs. Now, this is kind of a little small segment, but it looks like we're going to be having some Doctor Strange orbs enter into the game pretty soon. It looks like they're going to be costing $375. This is from a data mine that we've seen. I have no idea if it's coming soon or exactly when it's coming, because I'm thinking maybe it has something to do with the Rocket Raccoon. I'm sorry, not the Rocket Raccoon. The Wasp 1/6 node. Maybe they knew that that was the most efficient character to use to take him down, and it's kind of a money grab situation. Who knows? You don't 100% need him. He definitely makes it easier. But either way, it's a cheap orb. You know, the 370, or at least from what it looks like, it's going to be a 375 orb. Not bad. He's a really good character to have, period, especially for the Cosmic team. So overall, not a terrible investment, you know. Next, we have, also brought to you by the data mine, the Loki Blitz. We are going to be looking at the Loki Blitz coming in July 26th is what it looks like. So that'll be good. I'm glad to finally get my hands on Loki. His kit looks awesome. I'm sure you guys have all played around with him too in the campaign nodes. Really fun character. I know we've been waiting for him since the Thanos raid, whenever they originally mentioned Star-Lord and Loki and I believe Groot. And, you know, now we've seen Groot, we've seen Star-Lord. I'm glad we're finally getting Loki. Not sure what took him so long, but regardless, it's coming. And, yeah, so you're going to unfortunately have to trudge through all of the nonsense of Blitz that we just spoke of, but it'll be well worth it, I think, because Loki is looking like a great character. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. And next on the docket, sorry, we have a bunch of stuff to cover today, so I'm kind of cruising through this. But we have the return of the Deadpool raid, and with that comes some problems. So the first thing that we found this out in a data mine as well, and the problem with this raid is that it looks like it's going to be the same structure as the most recent Thanos raid, which is going to be basically giving you Mega Orb shards as its main reward. We don't know if there's going to be some... It looks like there's going to be some Deadpool orb fragments available as well, but it's probably going to be a similar situation to what we saw, which is, you know, the top 0.1% of the alliances can beat it. So we'll have to see. But anyways, well, actually, you know what? I take that back. The Deadpool raid was easier overall, so it's going to be easier to take that down than Thanos, that's for sure. And it better be way easier, because we are looking at, from the data mine, it says that there's going to be a 2-hour window to beat these raids after starting them. This makes so little sense to me that I don't even know how to proceed with telling you about them. So basically, I'm hoping it's a typo and they mean 24 hours, but considering we haven't found anything to the contrary, and this has kind of been found out about 5-6 days ago now, I'm getting a little worried that that is the real case. Hopefully they do something to make that make sense, because as of right now, it doesn't in the slightest. I mean, where are you going to get the raid energy to do it? I mean, it literally just doesn't make any sense. So I hope they change it up and make it work, but we'll see. You know, I will say people are getting tired of these and I'm sure that people got really tired of the Thanos raid very quickly. Mega Orb Shards are great, and Mega Orb Fragments are great, but I don't know, it's just getting so little of them. Even though, after the event, I did get like 2 or 3 Mega Orbs from it. Granted, I was almost at one of them, I think, or halfway to one of them. But I just was left with the feeling like I didn't get out what I put in. Like my effort wasn't worth what I was getting out of it. Or at least it was really hard to see what you were getting out of it. Because 300 or so orb fragments does not seem like much whenever you need 2,000 of them, So, I don't know. I feel like they should tweak that somehow. Hopefully they change it up. We don't know the exact parameters of this new raid, but we know that it's different. That's for sure. So, either way, we're going to be getting something out of it. It's interesting. It's actually, I'm in a top 100 alliance, and that was the first time, the Thanos raid was the first time that I have ever seen our alliance just not care too much about something. Like, we are so strict in our raiding that usually if you miss one raid, we're probably going to kick you, or at least we're thinking about it. And that sucks. Of course we don't want to do that, but that's just, you can't afford to screw over 23 other players whenever one person messes up. It sucks, but until they change it, that's kind of like what we have to do. If there's a little bit of unreliability on someone's end that didn't tell us beforehand, it is just too much. So, but yeah, with the Thanos raid, it was funny just because, we easily 60%ed it every single time, but we didn't 100% it. We came really close once. But it's just, there's a lot of times whenever some people just didn't join, and some people put down really low damage for no reason, and all of us captains, we just like didn't care because we were just like, okay, we get it, guys. Like, everyone's tired of doing it. We understand. But so hopefully they've put it in a way that makes it a little more fun and not as much of a task. But I don't know. It seems like they love their 2-hour cooldowns. So we'll see what happens with this one. Either way, looking at some Mega Orb Shards at the very least. So, if you want some of those Mega Orbs, which are pretty amazing, and also can be very, very frustrating. But if you want them, they're coming at you. So get ready. All right. Moving on. We have the big one to go over, the Fox Next scandal. This one was a hard pill to swallow. I am usually in defense of Fox Next on a lot of the stuff that they do. I understand it's difficult starting a game. We're still relatively close to its infancy. It blew up pretty quick. They're working with a small team from what we know. So I let a lot slide, but this was just weird and ethically terrible, honestly. You really have to be a lot more careful when dealing with these kinds of things in a group setting, especially where people communicate to each other a lot. A competitive group setting where people communicate with each other. Shouldn't happen, period, but it's just going to be found out whenever people communicate. So let me get into what happened. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know. But basically there was this guy, Nightly Gaming, who shot up to level 65 out of nowhere. And I believe it was Ox that caught him. He's, I think, #1 strongest on the leaderboard. Yeah, he is #1 strongest on the leaderboards. So he's the best player in the game, and he called him out that is basically impossible. And sure enough, it turned into a thing, and the guy is a YouTuber, and he released a video on it. It was a relatively short video at first, and he went into this half-assed explanation as to why this was the situation that he was in, and basically the long and short of it was that he was a quote-unquote employee. At the time he was saying this, that he was a quote-unquote employee of Fox Next, and he wasn't even calling them Fox Next. He was calling them Foxnet. So he didn't even know the name of the company, which was weird. But anyways, so he was saying that he was the employee of them and that they were paying him and giving him this account with all these benefits in order for him to make content for them, end game content, like YouTube content and I've seen stuff like this before. This happens. This isn't a big deal when it's done correctly, because when it's done correctly, what happens is that they're put on private servers, or they are washed away from basically anything competitive, and they're given an unlocked account. That was not the case with this person. First of all, he did mention that he had said he probably shouldn't have done it that quick because he didn't want to raise any eyebrows. So that means that he knew that he shouldn't have been doing what he was doing. Or Fox Next had told him not to raise any eyebrows and basically don't draw too much attention to yourself with your crazy account. So he has this basically gifted account, which from what I understand now it's basically like infinite energy. It's not actually infinite. There is a cap on it. Or not a cap, but he does have a finite amount of them as of now. I'm not sure if it keeps getting replenished or whatnot, but it's so much energy that you're going to take forever to run out of it. So he was able to reach 65 because he was just burning through all of that campaign energy, no problem. And he was ranked on Blitz, so he was always high up on the Blitz leaderboards. He was on the strongest leaderboards, the strongest team power and strongest alliance and strongest collection power leaderboards. He was listed up there. And he was doing it all with... Oh, and he was in Arena, too. And he had been placing first in Arena at least a couple times. And if at the very least we know that he recently, in the most recent Arena that he did, he placed 13th, I believe. So we know that he was using this account competitively. Now, maybe Fox Next had given him this account and told him, do not be in any competitive mode with this. Keep your head down, and we just want you to make, basically campaign content and, team synergy content. But that's not what happened. And we don't know that that's what happened either. I mean, it could have just been, here you go, do whatever you want with it. And then he was just trying to keep his head down, and then, he just got to a point where he didn't care too much or didn't think it would have been a problem and, boosted to 65 real quick. And we also don't know when he was given this account. Now, he said that he had been playing since alpha, basically. So that's before beta. So what we can tell by that is that this guy, if that's true, he's put in a lot of time into this game, and that he would have had an amazing account regardless. But nonetheless, and he said that he put in, I think $800-ish, he said, $800 to $1,000 of his own money into the account. But that doesn't hold a candle to everyone else that has dropped tons and tons of money in this game to be competitive, basically in the top 10, especially in the top 5 and top 3, number 1. So it's absurd that he was allowed to be up there for so long. I mean, that should have been handled a long time ago. So there's still a lot of stuff we don't know about it, but the one thing we do know is that this guy's kind of an asshole. And we do know that Fox Next did not handle this situation correctly. My personal belief is that Fox Next seems to be a very reactionary company, period, as far as everything that they've done so far. I don't know if that's just how they are, that's just their style, they aren't proactive thinkers, or if they're so bogged down with everything because they have such a small team that they're always only able to react to things. They don't have the time to be proactive. I'm not sure, but I think that he was given this energy. I don't want to say unlocked account because it's not a fully unlocked account, but definitely an account with a high advantage. I think he was given this a long time ago, and because he was a popular YouTuber, he has like 41,000 followers or so. And maybe they gave it to him because they wanted him to, drive more popularity to their game. And so they gave this to him and were like, hey, do this for us. We just came out. If you could be our influencer, we'd love that, blah, blah, blah. And so he did this, which is also weird because he has like no content for the game out. So it's very strange. I think he has like 12 videos. As we know, that doesn't hold a candle to a lot of the other people that make content for this game. So yeah, it's at the very least incredibly sketchy. Fox Next very quickly, I guess, I'm assuming that Fox Next very quickly found out about this, and they scrubbed him from the leaderboards. So he's still in a top alliance. He's in the number 11 alliance. And he's still there. I'm not sure what they can do about that. I think that they need to move him to a private server. And especially, before, if he hadn't been able to be competitive and he was just in the top alliance, whatever, I wouldn't have cared too much. But in light of all this, move him to a private server or just get rid of him, period. But either way, they scrubbed him off the leaderboards, but we still don't know if he's competing in Blitz. We don't know if he's competing in Arena, and that's really important. So I think no matter what, he's going to probably be keeping his head down for a while, but we don't know what they did or if they did much of anything other than that. So it really is kind of jarring that the company would do that, because it's not going to affect any normal person, right? Us mortals down in the 90, no, not even more than that, probably like 99% of us. It doesn't really affect us. One other person at the top that we don't know, that we never would have touched anyways, is doing really good in the game and has a lot of everything that we don't have. Whatever, it doesn't matter to us. But it is a huge slap in the face to everyone that is competitive in that area. And I can imagine how pissed off I would be if I invested as much money as Ox or Casino, which he hasn't invested nearly as much as Ox, and a lot of basically everyone in the top like 20. I can't even describe how angry I would be and how quickly I'd be asking for a refund. So, because it's just, this guy got all of this for free and I'm having to pay money for it. And this guy is keeping me from my ultimate goal, which is to be the best. I know I'm never going to be the best in this game, as does everyone else. But for these people who are dropping real money in this, it's absurd that they are just gifting him free things and basically supporting him to the top. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not fair. And so for that reason, they need to get their shit together. That is just unacceptable. You can't do that in a game. And I'm not going to go too much more into it because it's honestly upsetting, and it's just a slap in the face. And I've talked about it so much with all of my friends. So, and I know a lot of you guys have already talked about it, and I know a lot of you guys are pissed. There's no other way to look at it other than just being pissed. There's a lot of other things that you can do where you can have some defense of in favor of Fox Next and stuff like that. But here, it's just only wrong. And that brings me on to my next topic, which is the Raid leaderboard update and the Tier 4 ability mat update. So this one is another strange move by them. They increased the milestones for the Raid to 1.3 million at the very top end. That is crazy. Like, you're just not going to touch that in the 2 weeks given. There's just no way to do it currently. And that's a problem because we're missing out on a lot of the things that we had before for no reason at all. I mean, it's not like, you can make the argument that it was because we were progressing too quick and they were too easy to get. And I get that, but you don't do this. You don't increase the milestone structure by this much. It just doesn't make any sense. And you're just basically, like I mentioned earlier, you're never going to hit it the way it is. But I think the only explanation for it is that you're going to be getting a lot more points with the incoming 65 raid. That's the only thing that makes sense. it's still a little odd the way that they handled it, and especially since, I mean, they should have just released this update with the 65 raid if they were going to do it like that, just to make more sense out of it, or at least explain it to us or something, but communication has never been their strong suit, that's for sure. But so yeah, it's difficult and you're not going to hit anything like what you were hitting before, but hopefully that will change in the future. We'll have to see how that plays out. Moving on to the next part of it, we have the introduction of the T4 orange ability mat. I am excited that, I have a chance to actually get some now. That's cool. I always want to upgrade those characters. Yondu and Black Panther. I'm looking at you. You're going to be number 1 on my list. But the structure for these are just silly. So just for all of you people that are unfamiliar with it, for rank 1, whenever the event ends, which is it resets every 2 weeks, for rank 1, you get 200 T4 mats. For rank 2, 150. For rank 3, 100. For top 1% to 2%, you get 40. And for top 3 to 25%, you get 20. And then for top 26 to 50%, you get 10. Now, keeping in mind the cost of these abilities, it's 180 and 200. That it's never going to help you pretty much unless you are one of the people that's always ranking top 1, top 2, or top 3. I mean, even if you're at the top 1% to 2%, which is literally only going to be, or it's going to be excluding 98% of the population, it's still looking at a long haul. That's where we're going to end up being. My alliance is going to end up being in. I'm not looking forward to only getting 40 every 2 weeks. That's terrible. And I feel even worse for everyone that's lower, because 3 to 25 for only 20 every 2 weeks? That's just not going to cut it. Now, we do know that, or at least we assume, but it's practically a given, that T4 ability mats are going to be coming with the new raid as a reward. Hopefully there's a lot of them. But right now, this just feels really stingy. Like they just have a problem with thinking out these structures that they put in for rewards. It just doesn't make any sense usually. And it always kind of ends up hurting the player whenever they change them. So they need to really listen to everyone and fix that. But anyways, this doesn't look great. It's going to take a long time to get these abilities for characters upgraded. But, you got to do what you got to do, right? I hope that they're going to be increasing them. I assume that they probably will at some point increase these things, just because it's so minute, it feels like you aren't really rewarded anything with them. So, I mean, these should be big payouts, I think that, honestly, after 2 weeks, on the bottom level, you should be getting at least 40 on the very bottom level, and going up from there. I feel like that honestly makes more sense to me, but I don't know. That's my opinion on it. I'm sure that there's many others, but I'm sure we're all probably thinking close to the same thing. But, so that's the raid leaderboard update in a nutshell. It's been a kind of negative podcast so far towards Fox Next and all these changes that we've seen. I'm sorry. It's been kind of a bad week for them. Hopefully next week is much better. We get some good news. Speaking of good news, we actually just got a couple of new updates that I wanted to put in right before I released the episode. For the first one, we did finally get a official response from Fox Next in regards to the whole nightly gaming debacle. It appears that they have decided that they're going to scrub him completely from the servers, delete that account, as well as any other accounts that previously existed or going forward that they're going to partner with. And they're taking them onto a private test server. So they're taking them off of the public servers. That way they can't compete with anyone. Yeah, so that's good news there. Second, we actually just got confirmation that Miss Marvel is going to be joining the fight. We don't know exactly when, but it was just released at Comic-Con. Her picture was put up on a big display, and so that's super exciting. I'm glad that they're going to be bringing her in. I mean, we always knew that she was going to be coming in, but I'm sure that's going to probably coincide with her movie. But either way, I'm super pumped about it. She is a fantastic character, and I'm excited to see her in the game. I think she's probably going to end up being the first female protector that we have, but we'll have to see. And next we have one of the 2 new data mines that we just found. This one is pertaining to the Tier 6 Ultimus raid. It's basically outlining exactly what we thought was going to be the case, which is the points rewarded for the Tier 6 completion of Ultimus is far more than the points rewarded for any of the others. So it looks like the new milestone rankings will be possible to hit with the new raid coming out, so that's good. Next, the data mine that we have is for the new Deadpool raid, and it basically goes into the particulars and explains the whole 2-hour time limit. Essentially, they reduced the cooldown for energy to 3 minutes and 30 seconds per 1 point of energy. So that's how they're planning on us doing that. I'm not sure how I like this yet. We're going to have to wait and see, but it seems like overall they're just trying to keep us on the game for as long as possible. So, not the best strategy, but, you know, maybe they did something with this and it'll be a lot more fun. I don't know, but I feel like having to do it even more for probably less Mega Orb fragments than we got with Thanos, it's going to get real bad real quick, I feel like, but we'll see. Either way, it looks like the wording in these are pretty much the statement that's going to be going out in messages. So it looks like these are probably going to be coming pretty soon, so be prepped for that. Anyways, so let's move on to the character deep dive, everyone. Star-Lord. Now this son of a gun, he was difficult to get for me. I had to drop some money to get him. I had to buy 40 shards of Stitcher because the game would not let me have him in the raid store. I saved up so many raid credits to get him every time he appeared. He appeared maybe twice out of the potentially, like, this is a quick math, 42 times? Yeah, 42 times that I needed him there. So I ended up dropping, I think it was $10. Yeah, I think it was $10 on some Stitcher shards. But nonetheless, got him, and he's cool. He's a cool character. I'm glad that I ended up investing a little bit of money to get him. Or I'm okay with the fact that I invested a little money to get him. I shouldn't say I'm glad I just threw down money, but I'm certainly okay with it. But anyways, real cool character. He is definitely what I would put into the usable to demigod category, depending on your synergy. He's definitely a very good character. So overall, and especially with the Guardians team, so good. We'll get into a little more of the specifics of it after we go through the deep dive. But without further ado, Star-Lord. All right, so let's go ahead and go through his tags first. So he is a hero. He is cosmic. He is a tech character, a controller, and, of course, a guardian of the galaxy. Now, his description is a charismatic leader who generates ability energy for allies and distracts enemies. So, let's go ahead and get to his basic ability, his element gun. Now, for this one, he attacks the primary target for 260% damage plus a 30% chance to chain up to 2 additional targets for 210% damage. Counterattacks break his chain. So, this is a pretty good ability. By the way, all of these are, as always, at their max level. Well, I should say the max level excluding the T4 ability mat level. So level 7 on the basic and level 5 on the passive. Just because those still aren't usable yet. So we'll just keep it at the normal level. So at level 6, that's what it does. And that's a pretty good ability right there. Some decent damage on him. And, you know, ability to chain, that's always nice. It's got good scaling on his chaining. And, of course, you know, that seems to be kind of the norm now is the counterattacks break chains. Overall, pretty standard, but pretty good ability. You know, relatively, with a 30% chance, though, the only thing is that it's a little unreliable. Certainly more unreliable than a lot of other people that can chain. But, nonetheless, it's like a little bonus. It's not terrible. Now, next we have Clever Distraction. Now, this ability costs 4 energy. and it grants 2 ability energy to 1 random ally, plus it applies blind to 2 enemies for 1 turn, and it's also unavoidable. Now this is a pretty good ability right here. So not only are you generating 2 ability energy for someone on your team, but you also apply a blind to 2 enemies. And this is pretty important. I mean, it's not the most amazing ability in the game, that's for sure. But blinds are becoming increasingly more important in the game, I feel like. So having the ability to be able to blind 2 people, pretty nice ability. We're not talking Hawkeye level here, but pretty nice little bonus. And the fact that it's unavoidable, that's a big plus too. So moving on, we have the Elemental Blast. So for this one, it costs 5 energy, and it attacks the primary target for 460% damage, plus you get an assist from a Guardian ally, plus you get a random ally assist. So this is a great ability. It's a nuke ability basically, and he can use it turn 1, which is fantastic. So it does a lot of damage, and the fact that you can pull assists from not only 1 random ally, but also a Guardian ally, that's really good, especially whenever you're running him on a Guardian team. So yeah, that's just a really good ability. Strong. It gives him a little more. I feel like if he didn't have that kind of nuke capability, I use nuke lightly because it's not like a nuke like Wolverine nuke, or certainly not a Crossbones nuke or a Yondu nuke or anything like that. But a single target, pretty good damage nuke ability, quote unquote. But it gives him a little more versatility, because if he didn't have that damage, I don't think that he would have as strong of a place, even in a Guardian's role, than other options. I know that soon we're probably going to be getting Mantis, and especially since we don't have a Dispel. That's the current problem with the Guardians team, is that you don't have a Dispel. And if he had a Dispel, I would love that. But I feel like if he didn't have that nuke ability, chances are Mantis is probably going to have a Dispel. And I feel like if he didn't have that nuke, he would end up being replaced pretty quickly by Mantis. Now it makes it more of a kind of situational circumstance. So anyways, moving on to the next ability, Improvisation. This is its passive, and on turn he has a 30% chance to grant ability energy to 1 random ally, plus grant ability energy to 1 to 2 Guardian allies. This is very strong. This is an incredibly good passive. Makes him an even stronger pick for running him with a full Guardians team. 30% doesn't seem high, granted, especially in this game, but whenever it procs hard. Yeah, that's a really strong ability. I like it. I would never depend on it happening a lot, but this, whenever it even happens once in a game, it's game changing. So really strong ability here. Now, overall, I really like him as a character. I think that everyone wants to have Star-Lord and a Guardians team. I just think that the biggest weak link here in a Guardians team is the fact that there's no Dispel, like I mentioned earlier. And I feel like a Dispel should have went to Star-Lord. And ever since Irish and I found out that Mantis is most likely going to be coming, we've kind of realized that she's probably going to be having the Dispel. But it's just such a shame that you have to give up Star-Lord in order to get it. Now, the argument can be made, of course, that you don't need him and need a Dispel to do well, but in the current meta, you kind of do. So it's a little bit of a problem. And so, other than that, you have to start looking at taking out other people. And Rocket and Groot. Granted, Groot is obviously the weakest link in the bunch, but the problem is that Groot gives so much good damage synergy to Rocket that it's hard to take him out. But I think if you were to take someone out, it would probably be Rocket, but we'll have to see. Overall, running him as a separate character, he's a really good character. He definitely lends himself more to Guardians. I would want to put at least 1 or 2 Guardians with him, which wouldn't be hard to do considering, some of the Guardians people are some of the best, highest tier characters right now. So you can easily group him up with one of those people. But so I think that he's really strong outside of a full Guardians team right now. So overall, great character. I definitely put him at, I would say he's usable without any other Guardians, demigod with a Guardian, I would say. But he would definitely be at the bottom of the demigod list, in my opinion. So moving on to the final part of the schedule, we have the question of the day. This one is a lot of fun. I've been wanting to do this one for a while just because it's really cool to think about, and I already had my character that I knew that I wanted to do, but it just required a little more time and thought to put it together. And I figured now, since Irish isn't here, that's one less person that has to do it, so I might as well cut the work in half and do it myself. But so here's the question, and this is from Grant Dayton. And he asks, if any character were to ever have an annihilate ability, like Darth Nihilus in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, who should it be, and what would the animation look like, name of the ability, energy cost, or etc.? Now, for me, I think I even mentioned this before in a previous podcast, I'm super excited. He's not the character I'm most excited for, but I am super excited for Ghost Rider. And I think that he would fit perfectly here because of his big move, which I'll get into in a second. I feel like that is 100% an annihilate move. And I actually remembered there was someone on Reddit who had actually posted up a really good character ability description for Ghost Rider. This was like a long time ago. So I rummaged through and I found it because it fit perfectly. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read off. There's a little bit of tweaks that I did just because to make it more balanced, because the way he had it was a little unbalanced. But his general concept, fantastic. I actually really loved it. All right, so his first skill, his basic, would be Chain Lash. You attack the primary and adjacent targets for a percentage of damage. Flip one positive effect to a negative on the primary target. So for this ability, I think that the percentages would need to be balanced based on his attack damage and whatnot. So I just went ahead and left that part blank. But being able to attack everyone with an AoE at a relatively a decently low AoE percentage based damage, but being able to use his chain, it makes sense for his chain to be able to attack multiple targets. And kind of adding a little bit of utility with him by flipping one of the effects from a positive to a negative. I think that adds a little more intrigue to the character. And definitely more utility and viability. So I think that's a really great ability right there. And his next ability would be Hellfire. And that would cost 3 energy, starting with only 1. And you would attack all targets for a percentage of damage and have a 75% chance to remove 1 energy from each target. For each energy removed, add 1 energy to Penance Stare. So I think that this ability it seems a little overpowered, and it very well might be, but I feel like you kind of need it in order to help build up the huge energy cost for the Penance Stare. So, and this isn't meant to do a bunch of damage, similarly to his basic ability, just because, his big nuke ability is the Penance Stare, which we'll get into in a second. But everything else is more basically AoE and damage and utility. That's basically all it's for. Not meant to be anything crazy damage-wise. Moving on to the next ability, we have the Penance Stare. And that would cost 9 energy, and it starts with 0. That ability instantly defeats the target and prevents them from reviving. So that would be really cool. The reviving part isn't a huge thing yet, just because we only really have a couple characters that can do revives, only one that can really do it reliably, at least off the top of my head. And that's not too big of a deal yet, but I think that makes it fair enough that instantly defeating someone makes it okay, because you probably had to wait a while to do it. And you could of course fluctuate things with his health and his armor and just his damage in general, stuff like that, to make it a little more balanced. But I think that would be super cool. For his next one, his passive, Spirit of Vengeance. Gain 1 stack of death proof and speed up when below 20% health. That would be cool because I think it not only does it increase his survivability a little bit, which makes sense because, of who he is, but applying the speed up on below 20% health, especially since now it's only 30%, I think that helps kind of, because people are probably going to target him. I think that will help him try to get off his Annihilate ability, basically. I think that would be super cool, and I think I don't think it's unbalanced to go along with that. That would be my pick for that. I think that was such a good kit. Shout out to 6 Gauge for posting this up. Really good character creation. I agree with it 100%. I can't wait till they have him out. I really hope they follow this like pretty much exactly. But yeah, great character. I can't wait. I know he's obviously inevitably going to come out. He's a super popular character in the Marvel universe. I just can't wait. I'm pumped. But yeah, that would be my version of Darth Nihilus. But anyways, thank you guys for sticking with me through the ride. It's been about an hour and 10 minutes so far, all by my lonesome. But I had a lot of fun. Can't wait to hop on next week. Hopefully some things change. I'm looking forward to another data mine or something that can really we can get behind and provide us with a few happy moments. But yeah, until then, you guys can join our Discord at discord.me/PowerCore Podcast. And we are on iTunes and Spotify and pretty much everything else. So you guys can always find us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or comment if you like our stuff. We've had a lot of people following us and joining our Discord. We really appreciate all the support. And honestly, I'm having a blast talking to everyone. Thanks to all you guys out there that's already doing that. Really appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and catch you guys next week on the PowerCore Podcast.